So why do we do drive-in church? We said we wanted to have a safe place for folks to corporately worship. And in order for us to remain a positive note for our community and not a negative one, we felt like there were certain steps that needed to be enforced, so to speak, in order to keep it a positive, wonderful, healthy, safe environment. The first thing we thought, when I deal with staff, when I deal with youth ministers or children's ministers or secretaries or any ministerial staff, the one thing I always tell them is, I don't like to be surprised. Don't surprise me. It can be bad, it can be good, that's fine. I just don't like to get caught off guard. It's the same way, I think, with drive-in church and the folks who are in supervisory positions over you. I think if you're going to do drive-in church, you need to inform your district superintendent. They may have some helpful tips and tricks. They may have some direction or some insight that helps you. So I would contact my district superintendent. The second thing I would do is I'd contact local officials, whether that's county or city. When we decided to do drive-in church, when we suspended drive-in church, when we picked it back up again, each time I contacted the mayor's office. Not necessarily to get permission, although that's what I wanted and that's what he gave, but I wanted to give them a heads up. I find people deal with you a lot better if you don't surprise them. So contact those people and just check with them and see if they have any insight or any direction that they want to give you to ensure that you remain a positive force in your community and to maintain safety for your community. The second thing I would say is you got to keep your people safe sometimes from themselves, which means you need to give detailed instructions, which are stay in your car, mostly keep your windows rolled up, but stay in your car. I always said Fred Craddock, if you know who Fred Craddock is, he taught preaching at Emory University. I said Fred Craddock runt, and that's a horrible Scott County type thing that I just said. Fred Craddock runt many a preacher, and they're preaching. Why do I say that? Because Fred would weave these intricate tales, and at the end of his sermon, he would tie it all together with one resounding point, and you would just sit there aghast at the amazing weaving of stories and illustrations to get to this life-shattering, earth-shaking point. He did that so well, and a lot of Methodist preachers tried to copy that. And when they tried to copy that, what we found out is they weaved a web, but it wasn't very good. And by the time you got to the end, you were so utterly confused, you didn't know what they were talking about. It's that kind of thing that led me to my preaching style, which comes out of my education background, which is repeat it again, and then repeat it again. And just when you think everybody's sick of hearing it, repeat it again. All we do every Sunday and every newsletter and every thing that we put out is we tell people, stay in your cars, stay in your cars, stay in your cars, stay in your cars. If you don't stay in your cars, we'll stop having it. Stay in your cars. In other words, tell people to stay in their cars. If you think you've said it enough, you probably hadn't said it enough. Say it some more. So check with your municipalities, let your district superintendent know, communicate with your administrative board and your people, and then tell folk to stay in their cars and enforce it. If somebody gets out of their car, ask them to get back in. We need to keep people safe, sometimes even from themselves. The point of drive-in church is to worship together in a safe environment and to be a positive note for both our congregation and our community. If you'll do those things, that's exactly what it'll be.